Raising teens alone can be brutal. It becomes easier when you are co-parenting with the universe. Welcome to Co-Parenting with the Universe. This is Murielle, Fellous, your host, and today I have a guest with me. His name is Donovan Dreyer. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I forgot to ask you how to pronounce it. And to give you a little bit of feedback, Donovan started his career focus with a dream of becoming a pilot. Despite years of training and earning a degree, he discovered his real passion was not flying a plane, but instead helping parents and teens navigate the bumpy airways of life with ease. Don't we all need that? Mm-hmm. In today's world of overwhelm, anxiety of the future, stress, and pressure to be competitive, Donovan uses his unique gift to help the teens get calm, clear, and fall in love with their new life path. And I'm going to give the mic to Donovan to, first of all, welcome, Donovan. I hope you're doing great today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing great today too.
I am. And I would love if you could tell my audience in your own words a little bit about your pivoting point, first of all, when you really realized that what you wanted to do was helping teens and parents.
Yeah, well, the pilot had kind of like a twinkle in his eye with flying as he was telling me all the stories. So I had met with a pilot at Zingerman's Deli in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I could just see that he had something for flying that I didn't have, but I realized, I bet I've got that twinkle in my eye for something. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do the soul searching throughout my, well, however long it takes. I'm going to do the soul searching, however long that takes to figure that out and feel, really grasp what appeals to me. And I remember my wife and I were sitting on the couch one day and I was helping her through, she's a teacher. So she's also an educator working with kids for over a couple decades as well, but it was in her first year. And I was just day after day after day, helping her through her day, helping her through her day with the kid challenges. And it just dawned on both of us this one day that I need to be doing this with many other people. Like, this is my gift, to listen, grasp, understand what's going on, and then problem solve. And if we fast forward, I did that over 20 years now with hundreds of teenagers, helping them through things, and the family matters too. Like, the parents would come into my school counseling office. So it was the Columbine shooting that prompted me to actually go into specifically working with teenagers. So I wanted to go on the front lines before we had this concept of a frontliner. Like, when that happened, I realized this is such a radically game-changing event for people to want to get, known out there in the world for notoriety, doing something like horribly bad to make the news. That felt to me like a real game-changing event in human history, or at least American history. So I wanted to get right into the front lines and not read any articles or understand it from a outside perspective. So I put myself right in the throes of what it's like to be a teenager for the past, 20 plus years. And I've learned a thing or two after all that.
I'm sure you did. And yes, that was such a horrible, shocking event. And unfortunately, since then, other events like this happened in the US. And I know, talking with moms that, and even with, I lived in the US too, I moved now, but I raised my kids in the US, and it's always a concern. You think about it in the back of your head, and it's very difficult. It's pressure. That's just what it is. What is really interesting to me is, how did you have a natural connection with teenagers? Because teenagers today are completely different than teenagers before. And I know from having raised teenagers, it's not easy to build that connection.
No, I don't know if that's a thing. I think I remember the first parent and kid that walked into my office, and I didn't have an answer. I didn't have a solution. It wasn't like with my wife, with the things that she talked about, because I had built that rapport, but somebody walks in the door and they want an answer. And I was like, I got nothing, I don't think I got an answer here. Well, I got my master's degree. I should know something, but the specific thing they walked in the door with, I just remember being dumbfounded and thinking, okay, I guess my real learning starts now. And the rapport building, the kids aren't going to be like, oh, I trust you. Yay,
Yeah.
you're a good person in my life. Let's just trust you. No, that doesn't happen. I don't think there is a natural thing. You have to work at this, and it's tricky if you've got, in the school counseling realm, there's, 350 or 600 people, students put on your caseload. So it's a little bit tough to get to know them. And I noticed the teachers would build better rapport with the kids, not naturally, but this is how we build relationships, is it has to be a consistency of meetings. Or what I found, if I just had a moment of time, I had to make the most of it. So that is not a natural thing. It's definitely something that, over the course of 10,000 hours and maybe 10,000 more and 10,000 more hours, that I developed mastery of how to build these connections and help parents build these connections. I remember also, like, one parent said, I know my kid better than you do. This is my kid. And I thought about the 4-year high school cycle and then what happens after that, and these big transitions and these big decisions. And I thought, hey, I've actually had hundreds and hundreds of experiences with this cycle and the decision making. So in a way, I almost know, the general teenager better than a lot of parents do from having so much experience.
That's for sure, because first of all, as parents, we know a certain side of our teenagers, certain facets, but they have, like us, we're like disco balls. We have so many of them. And some of them, we don't even know of their existence as a parent. So thinking that we know our teenager is a little bit, it's a dream world, but that's not really true most of the time.
I
And
like the disco ball.
yeah, I always refer to people as disco balls. We have so
Not a
many.
diamond, not just like a few facets, the whole disco ball.
Yes. And what did you find that you used for having teenager trust you, that maybe moms or parents can borrow or learn from you to learn to build a trust relationship with their teenager? Listen.
We got these tools called ears right here. So that's the biggest thing. So I guess there's hearing and then not really listening and not really understanding. So to hear with an interest in listening, I mean, the kids do not just trust us, even if we are their parents. They've heard it 1,000 times from our mouth, and they're testing to see if we're really listening. And then if we ask, like, one thing we can do is ask better questions. So, how was your day? Not such a better question. Like, fine. That's how my day was. Fine. So why don't you get better at asking questions and opening the conversation? So I think one thing I would teach is ask better questions. And that just is usually the first question, whatever the question is not as good as the follow-up. So it's a test. Like, I'm fine. Let's see what you got now.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm finished with the conversation. So those open-ended questions would be better than just, something that can be answered in one word. So get better at asking questions that open up the conversation more. Tell me a little bit about how your presentation went in your AP class. And we might be not picking the spot at the right time either, is another thing. So I just walked in the door, man. So pick your spot. So ask a better question that's open-ended like that, but also pick your spots. We don't have an opportunity to ask 50 questions in a barrage. We might be able to just try 1 or 2 or 3, and then all done now. Let's let them have their piece, and don't time it right when they walk in the door. I've been guilty of that. And, I can tell by the looks on my teenage daughter's face when I've done something that sometimes I do it on purpose. I'm not going to lie. So
yeah, just to play.
That builds rapport too. Is figuring out, how to create, a bit with your kids, something that you do that's an inside joke kind of a thing. So those are a couple things. I guess those are 3 things. One is, ask better questions. 2 is pick the right time. and zip it after, that time has elapsed. And then the third thing is create something that's a bit between the two of you.
Yeah, that's true. Picking the right spot. I know that my oldest, for example, when she's hungry, that's not the right time to talk. You're going to talk with a dragon. You're not going to talk with a teen. And that I've learned through trials and errors. And another thing that I've learned also with my kids and was because when I was working in an office, I used to come home right away and start and seeing the mess. Of course, I was a single mom, so there was stuff. And I was stressed before even entering the door. So I made it a habit to wait in my car for 5 minutes, really breathe, and prepare myself to not expect perfection or not expect, like what I wanted to see, but be okay with whatever it was. And that helped me a lot too. And the last point that you made, create a bit. I'm French, as you can hear, so we had a lot of inner jokes because I do a lot of Franglish, and my kids still to this day, they make fun of me. So that was helping to build a rapport too. So anything can work.
Yeah.
Talking about mood, because I know I was preparing my mood to enter the house, but what I see is it's hard sometimes for moms to know, because you mentioned that sometimes they give us like a word as an answer and we don't have much to go with. But sometimes we have a hard time spotting if they are like in an emotional state that is low, or if they're sad, or how can you, they don't even know themselves, frankly. Most of the times they are not very aware. So there are two parts to this question. Is there a way for us parents to be better at reading our kids? Are there any signs that you give parents, like see, for example, I don't know, some kind of way to hold their body or something to spot their emotional state and see if they need our help when we may not necessarily know? And the other side I'll ask you after, because that's more on the side of the teen.
Well, I believe I've created the biggest breakthrough for mental health and the biggest breakthrough for self-awareness in history. So I didn't have a tool like that myself as a school counselor until I created one. So the big problem is there's such a huge range of emotions. Like you said, it's a disco ball's worth of facets. It's, same with the emojis. There's so many little emojis that they've made now, but I invented the ones that are green, yellow, and red. So that was my idea almost a decade ago, to come up with, let's just do one smiley face that's green. Let's do the meh face in yellow. Let's do the frowny face in red. And that's when I started working with elementary school kids. But, I got 3 years to work with elementary school kids at my daughter's school for 2 of the 3 years, and during a pandemic as well.
Wow.
But that really helped me realize, you know what? The things that I bring down to the elementary school level when it comes to mood and emotions and stress, that's exactly what we need at the high school and the grown-up level too, is we need it that ridiculously simple, because when we're emotional, or when the emotions take over, we need things ridiculously simple. That's profound, is to make them simple. So this nebulous inner world with this range of emotions, when we bring it down to just these three, the green, yellow, and the red, the beauty is I would actually have it on my whiteboard as a printed out option for them to just point. They didn't even have to open their mouth to tell me the mood or explain the emotion or tell me how they feel. And especially the boys would literally just point, that one or that one or that one. There was only 3 to choose from. And I would explain to them what the 3 different levels really meant, so that there's a distinct difference. So in this nebulous inner world, having X-ray vision into it, that's not very easy unless you really understand what these 3 levels are.
And just in short, do you have like maybe a word to describe each one of them so the parents could know better and maybe start using? That's brilliant to have only three faces, or 3, how did you call it, smileys? No, I don't even know how to call them.
Yeah, like
Emojis, yeah.
Three colored emojis.
Because it's so easy when we're in an emotional state, when we're triggered or worried, we don't think in complicated ways. We are deprived from our analytic brain, so it's brilliant, frankly. How could you describe it to parents?
Well, yeah, I think you've probably seen it on my Instagram and on Facebook. I've made the post with the traffic light idea that I created. And then there's a do and a do not. There's 3 things not to do, and there's 3 things to do. So the thing to do in the green zone is this level of stress. It's called eustress, EUSTRESS. So this level of stress, they can handle that on their own, and they're building their emotional regulation muscles when we don't hover or helicopter. So don't jump in when it's lower level stress. Allow them to build their emotional regulation skills. So that's where it's pretty clear they can probably handle it. They put their earbuds on and listen to music. They do some art, they journal, or they go for a walk. They can do something all by themselves at that level of stress. Now, when it's beyond the ability to DIY it, do it yourself, that's literally when we've crossed that yellow line into the yellow section. So that's the distinct difference. And in here, we don't need an emergency mental health support. This is where our support system exists. So they need positive peers. They need somebody they can lean on. They maybe need to be a person that others can lean on as well, because really good friends might be yellow one day and the other person's yellow the next. Yeah. And this is where everyday people can offer that support. So that's what we need at the yellow, is you're just in a space where we totally see you can't do it on your own, but we can see like, oh, this is helpful for you to actually go out and hit some tennis balls with your sister, something like that. And then finally, we're definitely beyond the green or yellow when we can't DIY it. Our support system that's in our everyday life, neither of those is enough. Keep doing those things. We don't need to stop doing the green level like art, or the yellow level playing tennis with the sister. Keep doing those, but those are not enough. When those are not enough, we're literally in the red. And that's when we got to spot those red flags, because it's a danger. Kids are at risk to themselves. So I've seen that many times in my career, and they're maybe, going to endanger others as well. So everything that evil that's ever happened or bad that's ever happened has happened from the red zone. Mental health wise, that person's in the red zone and they're unable to function normally, and they don't have the emergency help, and therefore something terrible happens. So now that explains every manner of violence that's ever happened. Mental health wise, it's happened from the red zone.
And because I know you're talking about being a danger to themselves, my audience knows that in my house, when I was raising my teens, we had a suicidal attempt. And so that was the red zone. Yeah. But what I found was that when my kid was in the yellow zone, they wouldn't let me help them, and they wouldn't even reach out for help from their peers. Is there something that we could either demonstrate or tell them to encourage them before they're even in a red zone, or to encourage them to seek out some help and support when they are in that yellow zone, to prepare them somehow?
Yeah, it's like help is a 4-letter word, and it actually is, but what I mean is like, it's such a, like, there's such a stigma around it. So we've got to get better about seeing that everybody gets help every day. We're either helping ourselves, green level, or we're getting help from somebody we trust at the yellow level in our support system, or it's an emergency and we need that extreme emergency to be tended to. But every single day, we have to start to recognize, oh, we're getting help. Help's not bad. We get that every day. And by the way, like, sports is where we originally had coaches, and now we have coaches outside of sports. And if we're going to be optimizing our abilities, and like in sports, they're trying to win championships, even though they're the best athlete in the world, they might want to win an Olympic medal, or they might want to win a team championship. And we have coaches for that. So when we're intentional and proactive, we're going to beef up that middle level support system to handle the yellow. And, really good coaches actually won't let the kid get to the bottom of the green. Like, for example, Bob Bowman stepped on Michael Phelps's goggles on purpose in a meaningless race one time to push him and trigger him into the yellow. Then we've got to help them figure out how to handle those triggers and get back to the green. So I think the missing link is a lot of people jump from green straight to red because there's not enough of a support system. And we haven't bought into this idea of being intentional and purposeful and proactive with beefing up our support system of either trusted peers or coaches or people that are going to actually be helping in this level where, hey, how much can I do with my potential? How can I realize my full potential? How can I optimize my inner game so that I can have all kinds of successes in the outer world? So that's just we've got to get more used to doing that with purpose and intentionality. And that's the job that I see we've got to do going forward, is to beef up the support systems and provide that yellow flag support or that yellow flag spotting, so that we don't have to wait to spot the red flags. It's too late then, is what one mom told me, where it was literally too late and she had lost her son to completed suicide. So we got to be more proactive, intentional, and really think about how we can optimize in this game of life, not to win gold medals. Those are meaningless compared to the life of every individual, not to win sports championships, which is meaningless, but we get one shot at this game of life. Why not really get super intentional about beefing up our support system?
And you're right. And that comes, I mean, as moms, I know that I raised my kids as a single mom. So I was in a country where I didn't have family, I didn't have much friends. So I didn't have that support system. But one positive point that I saw from COVID is to show us how, even though we are now on Zoom, virtual, we can still support each other and we can still build communities, because as human beings, my belief is that we're nothing without a certain aspect of community, whatever form it takes. And especially for parents and single parents, it's crucial, because we're human beings and it's very hard and you don't always know what to do. And there is a stigma, there was at least, I know, for moms to needing help. Like, we're supposed to know everything, we're supposed to have it all together, we're supposed to have all the answers and know, and that's not true. We're not. And the more we can show that and remove the judgment, because that's what trapped me personally as a mom to spiral me into a depression, was my self-judgment about how I felt. So help, like you said, it's not a bad word, it needs to be taught. And so that, I guess that demonstrating that to our teens would help them to know how to do that, and pointing out where we do that in our life. Did the kids ever have an apprehension to go to your office, like maybe they would be made fun of by their friends if they were going in the counselor's office?
Well, that's how I discovered my old system, like the Likert scale. It's a numbering system on the Likert scale. And I use the traffic light because imagine what it would be like if the traffic light was based on a numbering system and it was open to interpretation to everybody at the intersections. Wow. That wouldn't work out in our cars.
That wouldn't be good.
It doesn't work out in the inner world either. So I found that the Likert scale didn't work, because some kids would say, well, yeah, the stress 10 is high level stress and that's extreme, and 0 is low level. Well, Mr. Dreyer, I'm coming in when I'm a 1. I was like, you're just trying to get out of class, aren't you? You like coming in, don't you? Just to get out of class. Yeah, Mr. Dreyer, you got me. Or they love drama. Whereas, I'm in Colorado, and I remember a kid came in with cowboy hat, and it was really rare to see a kid that's like not usually wanting to come into the school counseling office, and he's coming in for a schedule change. But I asked him, like, well, what would it have to be like, with your stress level to come see me? He's like, look, man, that's never going to happen. It's a schedule change, or I'm not coming in here. It's got to be a 9.99999 out of 10 for me to come in. So anywhere from the kid that wants to come in to get out of class at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 9.99. It just depended on the student.
Yeah.
That's not as good as like the green level, you can handle it. The yellow level, you need a support system from everyday life. The red level, it's an emergency. That's crisp and clear. But yes, certainly it's definitely been more the male students that have been more of a problem. And it's great to be like, I was the only guy ever in my 17 years of high school counseling that was on the counseling teams that was a male. All of my colleagues were females for 17 years straight. So it's amazing to be the father figure in a situation like that, or not the father figure necessarily, but I think definitely like when I think about maybe single parents, because my mom was a single mom. And so, I would be able to see my dad once every couple of weeks. It's really important to have a male role model,
Yeah.
a father figure. So being the male role model or being, one of the few males in the school counseling realm was amazing. And now in the coaching realm, when I look at the summits that I'm on, it's, quite a few females. So I think we're in a world that really needs more of this male role modeling and the father figure types that are pouring into our kids and helping within this support system. And yes, there's totally a stigma about it still. However, that's my job, is to keep breaking through and figuring out ways to make it easier and easier and easier to get the help we need.
Yeah, it's true. They need a good male role model. And when they don't have that available, because for my kids, they didn't have that available, that's really, really important. I had another question. It ran off my mind. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Anyway.
I could talk about Bob Bowman one more time. When he stepped on his
Yes.
goggles on purpose, the other thing about Michael Phelps, he didn't get Bob Bowman as a coach and say, oh, I'm probably going to drown now. I'm terrible at swimming because now I've asked for help from Bob Bowman. I must be a drowning type of person. No, we're not at that extreme. I love coaching in that we can help people just like Bob Bowman. Let's help you go faster. Let's be intentional. Let's really aim for realizing our full potential and our optimal abilities and performance as human beings. I love, like, if kids start this coaching thing much younger. I know a lot of parents have gotten coaches for business or whatever, but kids have such a major advantage if they embrace this idea sooner, or the parents embrace this idea sooner. Then it doesn't mean you're going to drown if you ask for help, or it doesn't mean you're a terrible single mom if you need to ask for help. Bob Bowman could not swim as fast as Michael Phelps, but Michael needed 8 coaches. He needed Bob Bowman plus 7 others to win 8 gold medals. So it depends on what our goals are in life. And I really love working in the coaching space. I don't think many people really need coaching like you need therapy. It's just optional. But when you have optional, this optional opportunity to get this type of help, then we're going to avoid that red level stuff. Then we're going to be able to handle the triggers that put us into the yellow zone, because there's an expert like Bob Bowman helping us get back to the green.
And because also, when you start developing awareness about your emotional state and removing the judgment, you're going to be more inclined to go and build the skills, because you're going to be living in it. And that's where you have tools at your fingertips. I know in my house, we use tapping because that's what I use with my client, emotional freedom technique. And that has come very handy now, although now my kids don't want to hear about it, but that's normal, I know. But yeah, having something in their arsenal and knowing where they are, it's already, awareness will already trigger the healing. How do you approach, do teenagers talk to you a lot about fear of failure, especially when they have goals, and how do you approach that with them?
Well, I would say, looking back to my high school career and the clients I have now, they're mostly the kids that have really good grades. They're high achievers. And those are my most stressed out kids. So throughout my career, the high achievers, what I was thinking about recently is like there's like 3 big pressures. The pressure they put on themselves. Oftentimes the parents could have pretty high expectations. And then they kind of feel like this societal thing of like, good grades equals success. And so that's a pretty limited grasp of success. But even my smartest kids are equating like, I must, work hard and do hard things and get good grades in it. Pack on the pressure to myself equals success. And, just like I know my single mom couldn't do it all, and all single moms can't do it all. Those students don't have to invite that much pressure. But with the systemic things in society that say that's the way it is, or that's the way to succeed, or hard work and those kind of values are very tough on the kids' mental health, and they should be fine. They've got it all. They have first world problems, but those are the kids that actually have some of the toughest, issues with the mental health and the anxieties about the future. And it shouldn't be there, but it is. And so absolutely, those are some of the most common kids. And really, like, they appeal to me the most because I know we would actually have serious mental health issues in the high school so much that we really couldn't help you plan for your future or be optimizing and going for your realizing of your full potential, or being a great leader. We didn't have time for that because there was actual serious emergencies going on. So those kinds of kids would take a back seat unless their anxiety got so bad that they were endangering themselves. So that was a travesty to me to see, like, our future leaders were being too hard on themselves, and they didn't need that extra pressure. I'd rather see them blossom and actually step into their leadership. And I'm seeing so many kids from Gen Z that want to be part of the solution, and they just need help with that kind of alleviation of their anxieties and the relief of the pressures and a handling of the stress.
Yeah, and even sometimes it's even translated in physical symptoms. At least for one of my oldest, she's like this kind of A++ student that is so hard on herself that as a parent, it's sometimes we think we have to apply the same model to every kid, but not at all. I know that with her, I need to pull her back and say, don't do too much. With the other two, it's like, maybe a little bit more. And there is always based on the role that they have in the family, but it's hard for them. And unfortunately, sometimes I know that for my daughter, she used to have migraines that were debilitating from stress, and it affects their potential. What do you recommend? Because some parents, I teach moms to not catastrophize, like, because my audience and my clients are more moms who have problems with their teens because they don't go to school or stuff like that. So don't catastrophize. It's not going to ruin the rest of their lives necessarily. But what do you tell parents of the kids who are high achievers, who push themselves too much? What can they do to help them? Because I know with my daughter, I try to help her and tell her, calm down, you don't need. And there was sometimes a lot of resistance.
Yeah, so here's me giving vegetarian sushi. So I just picked that up today. So my daughter's got AP classes and the AP tests are coming up. And so I am really dialed in to the 11th graders and the 12th graders that have lots of AP classes. So I'm able to be proactive and tuned in to just doing something little. It's these little things that can make a huge difference. And hey, I'm not gonna make you shut down your desire to go harder, but I want you to have self-care. My middle daughter in all the AP classes that she's really had a very intentional focus in on self-care and doing the things that are going to alleviate her anxieties, handle her stress, and then release the pressures. And I take part in that, not with like doing anything that's outlandish, but literally, like, I just went and picked up the sushi that she likes.
Right.
So these little things make a huge difference, in my opinion.
And maybe also ask them what makes them feel good. And that way you have some kind of knowledge of what activities calms them down. And
get tuned in. I mean, it really helps to be tuned in. And that's where I was talking about the ears, like good questions and looking to understand is helpful, but really getting to know our kids and getting to know these little things. And when they see you do something for them, that's little, it means you're dialed in. It means you're tuned in. It means you care. It means these tiny little things say so much.
How I know you're coaching teenagers to find their passion and their path in life. What would be the first thing to do because sometimes it's hard, they don't know. I know we changed countries with my son, and he had to learn a new language to finish high school in a new language. And he's going to finish high school this year, and he doesn't really have an idea or a passion that he can turn to. And it's very hard sometimes to help them. How do you help them find that, or at least having some kind of direction to discover later what their passion or their wish is for the future?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's very, very few kids, I think, that are dialed in by the third grade and they stick with it. I've seen that, oh, I want to be a veterinarian, and then all the way through, they want to be
Yeah.
a veterinarian, and then they become one. So that's a really small percentage. So it's an ongoing conversation. I started with my 3 teenage daughters, all of them before they were 10 years old, to begin clarifying. We're never going to get total clarity, and we know what we're going to do for 30 years. And in 2063, exactly what we're going to be doing. We have no idea even what's going to be around in 5 more years with the rapid pace of change.
True.
So beginning these conversations, beginning them early. And then I think like what I love to do is actually to have the parents talk with me, and then if it's a good fit, to consider coaching. Then we'll actually have a meeting with the kids. And this is something that I've become masterful at, is helping them really get clear on this vision, then get really clear on what their personal biggest challenge is, and then to lay out what the path that makes sense for them after that point. And when people are serious about considering coaching, I conduct those conversations, and there's no obligation, but it's amazing just how profound that can be. And I just love having those kind of conversations. As a parent, though, one of the mistakes I think that I see made is, what do you want to do when you grow up? I don't know. The end. So again, we have to, where's the follow-up question with that? And the follow-up is about being more concrete and specific. I've never been grown up. How am I supposed to know? I don't like what you're doing, or I don't like what most people are doing. Or I do like what you're doing, but I don't know if that's right for me or not, or if I'm just copying what you're doing. So being more specific might be, well, what's, what kind of house would you like to have? Where would you like to live? What's something, what do you want to do? Like, what kind of finances do you want to have? What would you do with that money? What kind of like health and fitness kind of things do you see in your future? Do you care about that? Or are you never going to eat another piece of broccoli again after we've been forcing you to eat it all throughout your childhood? So get specific. So the specific things, like I said, are like health, fitness, health and fitness, maybe financial, where would you like to live? Relationships, what kind of friends would you like to have? Do you see yourself having a family and a partner? So helping them craft that vision, however fuzzy it is at the moment, it can get more and more and more clear through more and more conversations. And then just know that they're not going to get it figured out for 30 years. We're not doing that job at 18. What are you going to do first? That's all we really need to figure it out, is what are you going to do first as you're growing up?
That's a great point. First, now I see, for example, with my son, what tip would you give to a parent? Because I know how I reacted, but his thing is like, he's ADHD, so he doesn't want to sit he doesn't want to work in a job where he's going to sit. But he comes up with ideas like, I want to be a tattoo artist, and I want to be a guide, that takes people in nature. And for me as a parent, it's very difficult, because I don't want to tell him, well, tattoo artist is going to be hard. I don't want to kill it, but I also want to be more realistic and tell him, that's cool, you can do that too, but maybe find something else at the same time. Is there something that you tell parents that help them feel better or navigate that? Because it's not easy. It's very confusing. You don't know sometimes. I see the moms that they don't know how to react. Simply, I had moms their son is an actor and is now on Disney Channel. So good that she supported him, but that's not the case for everyone. So that's very difficult and personal. Do you have one tip maybe to help parents negotiate that better with themselves before they even know what to do with their kids?
I think we get to fail at plan A. We get to fail. We get to be wrong. We get to fail. We get to make errors.
Okay.
That's part of life. And then we can go to plan B. The big problem is people go to plan B before they even try plan A. My own daughter, she got all A's and B's in high school, but she didn't want to go to college, and she's off at cinema makeup school in LA, and she's studying to do makeup artistry. And she literally has like on her Instagram, she placed a person with a disco ball face because they put 5,000 rhinestones on this guy's face, and he literally looks like an Oscar because they're all gold.
Wow.
So she did that look, and she's been building that look, that her skills since the pandemic. So she started to create and craft what I call Resume 2.0, which is our social, like LinkedIn for grownups or any one of the socials, is our opportunity to start posting online what we're doing. So kids can start, you can tell if kids are serious or not by getting to know them and seeing what they're actually doing and seeing what they're actually curious and interested about. So she kept that interest and kept posting every single week consistently. So she built a long track record of week after week after week of backing up, like, this is my interest. Hello. And so we got to really get to know our kids, or we have to have a coach. I mean, kids, definitely open up to me about things that maybe they've already heard a billion times from their parents, or maybe they don't disclose with their parents. So having this outside resource, an expert on actually figuring this out, is a game changer, because I can tell the difference when somebody should actually go for, something more realistic that fits their interests, or really go for something that's a big dream, knowing full well they might face plant, and it's okay. And then if you have somebody that actually, pours into you, inspires you, and cheerleads you, they also, after you face plant, can be trusted to help dust you off and say, okay, let's go to plan B, or let's keep going for plan A. That's okay that you face planted. Let's try a different angle at it. So it's not the easiest thing in the world. These are some of the most difficult things to decide and pursue. And that's why I created my coaching, that really helps support through all these tough transitions, tough decisions, and then also really getting clarity. I'm working with one that I've worked with many times, and we have a bullseye that we're working with, and we haven't hit the pinpoint center of the bullseye yet for career. So we're getting there.
That's great. So I would recommend parents to go see someone like you, to help them and know how to navigate that, because it's not always easy. I see a lot of moms are like losing sleep sometimes when their kids come up with weird careers. And I know what I would do for my own kid, but of course I will not tell anyone else what to do. We have also our own wisdom. Can people find you? Do you have a website where people can contact you, maybe connect with you if they have questions about if you're a good fit, or if they need someone like you?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been making Facebook live streams quite a bit on, going ahead and booking a call with me. And so I had it so that the parents could come on with their kids. But I think a step before that is just to have like a connection call with the parents. So I can share a link for that with you, and they can check out my page. And there's, I've been working with within the business space as well. And that's actually what helped me really zero in on remembering my own story, and knowing like the pivotal time was like feeling so bad about wasting all that money and time on the wrong career. So seeing so many grownups that I've helped start businesses, and seeing like they've never done the fulfilling thing, like they didn't switch like I did and spend the time soul searching. They're much, much older. I thought it was bad to finally figure it out in my late 20s, that it took me that long to do my soul searching. And I'm seeing that I've worked with people from 45 to 85 that are still trying to figure it out and still haven't found that thing that gives them their twinkle in their eye. So absolutely, if parents want to meet with me, that's definitely an opportunity. I can give that link to look at the page that has some of the people that I've worked with. And then there's also a place to fill out an application and book a call with me.
Do you also coach grown-ups? Because I know for me, like you said, the pivot started in my late 40s, and I was a single mom doing it on the side, and that was painful. Do you coach grown-ups who are somewhere where they don't like what they're doing, but they have no idea what would make them more fulfilled, or only teens?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the young, like I'm finding the young 20s is really like my lane, like Gen Z that is getting into the work world. But I've worked with people from 45 to 85, probably 30s on up to 85 within the business coaching. I just did so many business coaching courses that I was like, you know what, maybe one good thing to help me learn this better would be to teach it. So for the past 4 years, I've had the opportunity to do work with a coach that I'm working under. And it really helps to learn how to do something by teaching it. And so I've helped a lot of adults over the past 4 years in business coaching, specifically helping them figuring out like what their message is, what their story is, what their idea is to offer to the world, and then how to do the sales process. And I actually was terrible at sales at first, but I've really fallen in love with the sales because it is this opportunity to help figure out the goal, help discover a challenge, and then lay out a path and plan. And those clients that have not signed up with me, because it is a no obligation conversation, I've really given great value. And so that's what really matters to me, is every single time I have one of these conversations with parents and kids, or the potential business clients, it's just powerful to have that conversation so that they at least get something of value from it. So I've definitely, love that opportunity. And if people are interested in getting that support, that's something we could explore as well.
And something I want to mention is us as parents. I know that my kids saw me build my business on the side, and I think one of my daughters did a project at school about I think it was the American success or something like that, and she picked me, and I was like, what? I'm not a success. But she was like, you're an immigrant and you have, and so we have no idea when we go for our things too as parents how it can impact our kids. Remember that too, because I was like in tears. I was like, oh my God, she sees me as a success. I don't even see myself.
So
I'm not where I want to be.
I love it.
But yeah,
I mean, business is tough. So again, like it's the same thing with the kids. The support system for that is one thing I've found, is that if you got, again, an expert who understands the strategies and who can be supportive, and you don't have to go it alone. I mean, nobody really makes it alone. We all have to stand on the shoulders of our mentors and trainers and instructors and supporters. And that form of help makes all the difference in the world. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. It's like, there's nothing wrong with a kindergartner that they don't know calculus.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really liked our conversation, and I know that will help a lot of moms, because it's difficult to navigate, and sometimes we need a professional to just have also a neutral perception of it, because we sometimes are lost in our emotions and our fears, etc. Is there something that you would like to tell people before we part, like maybe one thing to remember, or your main?
Feel free to follow me on be a friend on Facebook, or follow me on Facebook, because that's the place where I'm most regular, especially with kind of lengthier, posts. So there's one thing quite frequently there. The one thing I would leave with today, I think, is, when you were just speaking just now, I was thinking of something. The role modeling. Remember that who we are speaks so loudly, they don't hear a word we say, and they've heard it all already. There's nothing else we can say. If they've gotten to teenage years, they've heard it all from us. And that's where that outside objective person can be, beneficial. And it's more, for me, it's more about the listening and the ears. And there are some things, I'm definitely a coach that does a lot of talking, because there are skills that I'm teaching, there's instruction that I'm giving, there's ideas that I'm helping them understand, and then giving them things to do, and we're following up and giving feedback on that. But as parents, they pretty much know what we're going to say before we say it. So that role modeling, just knowing that they're always watching. And Murielle, if you've been that American hero for them, success story, that's just super touching. And then we all are that role model, whether we're role modeling the way we want to or not. That's what they're really watching. That's what they're really learning from. So I'll leave everybody with that.
Because I've also heard the other side. When I was raising my voice and my daughter turning around and say, I thought we were supposed to be master of our emotions.
Me too. Me too.
Thank you, Donovan, for being here today with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Murielle.
I will put all your links. I watch you on Instagram, but maybe I need to go more on Facebook, because if you do more stuff on Facebook. And for the audience, I'll put all the links below in the description of the episode, whether it is on audio or on YouTube. And go check Donovan's out, because he has great stuff, and don't hesitate to reach for help. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time with another episode. Bye.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and review us on iTunes, Spotify, or any other platform of your choice.